The psychological damage from being in a relationship where you were physically intimate with someone who had no intention of committing to you. That damage is real, it is specific, and it does not just go away on its own. Today we are going to talk about what actually happens inside a person after that kind of experience. Not in vague, general terms, but concretely and honestly. Because I think a lot of women who have been through this feel like something is wrong with them for how hard it has hit them. And I want to say clearly from the beginning, there is nothing wrong with you. What you are experiencing has a name, it has a cause, and it makes complete sense given what happened. Let's start with trust. One of the first things that gets damaged after a relationship where intimacy was present but genuine commitment was absent is a person's basic ability to trust their own judgment. This is different from distrust of other people, though that also happens. This is the quiet, destabilizing feeling that you cannot rely on your own reading of a situation. You thought you knew what the relationship was. You thought you understood what you were building together. And then reality turned out to be different from what you perceived. So now, in every new situation, there is a background noise of doubt. Am I seeing this clearly? Am I being naive again? Is this real, or am I telling myself a story? That background doubt is exhausting. It makes it very hard to be present in a new relationship because part of your mind is always running a parallel evaluation, always checking, always looking for signs, always second-guessing your own instincts. Ironically, this hypervigilance, which means being extremely alert and watchful all the time, can sometimes make a person harder to read and more emotionally distant, which then creates problems in new relationships that might actually have been healthy. The damage from the old relationship interferes with the new one even when the new person has done nothing wrong. There is also what happens to a person's sense of their own body and their relationship with physical intimacy after this kind of experience. When physical intimacy has been part of a relationship that turned out to be built on false emotional foundations, the body holds that confusion in ways that are not always easy to articulate. Some women find that they become more guarded about physical intimacy afterward, more cautious, more careful, requiring more time and certainty before they feel comfortable. Others go in the opposite direction and separate physical intimacy from emotional investment more completely than feels natural for them, because keeping the two together felt too costly. Neither response is wrong. Both are understandable adaptations. But both can create challenges in future relationships that the person may not even fully connect to the original experience. Shame is another layer that deserves honest attention. In many cultural contexts, and especially in cultures like South Korea's where a woman's sexual history is still subject to significant social judgment, a woman who is sexually involved with someone who did not marry her may carry a sense of shame that has nothing to do with anything she actually did wrong. The shame is imposed from outside by a cultural framework that places responsibility on women for outcomes that were actually determined by another person's choices and intentions. That kind of shame is unjust and irrational, but it is also very real in its effects on how a woman sees herself and how she moves forward. Depression and anxiety are common outcomes, though they are not always labeled as such. A woman processing this kind of loss may feel persistently low, unmotivated, unable to enjoy things she normally enjoys. She may feel a constant undercurrent of anxiety, an inability to relax, a sense of waiting for something bad to happen, a difficulty imagining a positive future. These are not signs of weakness or dramatic overreaction. They are appropriate psychological responses to a significant loss and a significant breach of trust. They deserve proper support, whether that is talking to a counselor or a therapist, leaning on trusted friends, or simply giving yourself permission to acknowledge how much this hurt without minimizing it. One of the most harmful long-term patterns that can emerge from this experience is the repetition of it. Not because a woman is self-destructive, but because unresolved wounds have a way of quietly directing our choices toward familiar territory. A woman who never fully processed the first experience of being intimate with someone who is not serious about her may, in future relationships, find herself in similar dynamics, drawn to people who have a similar emotional profile, or tolerating similar patterns of ambiguity, because on some level that ambiguity has become the emotional norm. This is not destiny. It is not permanent, but it requires honest self-examination and usually some form of real support to interrupt. What actually helps? Time, yes, but time alone does not heal this. What heals it is gradually rebuilding trust in your own perception. It is learning to read your own discomfort as information rather than inconvenience. It is grieving the relationship honestly, including being honest about the ways it was not what you thought it was, rather than protecting the memory of it. It is reconnecting with the parts of your identity that existed before and outside that relationship. And it is surrounding yourself with people who reflect back to you an accurate, respectful, complete picture of who you are, not the diminished version that a painful experience can temporarily convince you of. You were not stupid for trusting someone. You were not naive for wanting something real. The experience you went through says something about his choices, not about your worth. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe for Japanese and Korean language learning content, fun ESL class stories, sometimes even the toxic ones, plus videos about pets, plants, and anything interesting I discover in my daily life.